Alright, what up YouTube? This is going to be my first video uploaded to the channel, Birds and the Bees. Obviously, I'm your boy Bees, and I got my two co-stars over here. I got my boy Q over here, and I got my boy Fear Marcel. The link's going to be in the description. Go follow him. He releases a lot of good stuff. He gives back to the community a whole lot of good stuff for you guys. Alright, so today's video is going to be the top 5 things that are wrong with the NBA. Now, this is just our opinions. This is just how we based it. You can leave your comments in the description below and tell me what are your top 5 things, and then we can all go from there. Now, my top number 1 thing that I think is wrong with the NBA today is college education. It's going to be the first thing we're going to talk about. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys out there have 2K16, and you guys followed the story that Spike Lee set for you guys. That's personally my thoughts about college. Like, yeah, I would love to stay all 4 years with my teammates, but if I feel that I'm NBA ready, and if I feel that that's where the money is, then that's where I'm gonna go. I'll open the floor up to my guys here, and I'll see what they have to say about it too.
See, that's where you have it mixed up with. I believe that college is for education, and people should go to college to get an education, not go to college so they can show off their skills and show off their athletic skills and hopefully make it to the professional league. College is for education. You go to college, you're going to college for one, to get an education. You're making it to college because you have good grades, you're athletic and everything. You're going to college to get an education. What are you going to do after the NBA? You're not going to be in the NBA your whole life. What are you going to do after the NBA? You're not just going to sit and invest in all that money you made in the NBA all your life. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to agree with Marcel. People talk about being able to invest in your money. That does work for some superstars, but unless you become like a LeBron, a Curry, like one of those big names that the media really follows, you're not going to be able to just sit back and just rest on your laurels for the rest of your life. Also, like people talk about coming out of college for fear of injury in college and losing their draft position. The card can be flipped the other way as well, because you could be injured in the NBA, and then say you have a career-ending injury, God forbid. What are you going to do with then?
Yeah, so kind of like how Joel Embiid, top pick a couple of years ago, but it hasn't really gotten landed in the NBA yet. But still, just where my personal opinion is about it is just that I feel that of course, some people do stay another year. Like, they'll leave their sophomore years and then they'll go to the NBA because they feel that they're ready. Some people stay 3, some people stay 4.
Yeah.
But then if you're like a freshman phenom, like how Kyrie was, Andrew was, John Wall, Anthony Davis, like these guys were NBA ready. Mm-hmm. These guys were ready to come out, and these guys were ready to take the next step. Like, of course, that's not the case with everybody. And you know me, like, I do value in education, and when I have my kids, I'm going to tell them to get their education. But when it comes to the NBA or the NFL, the MLB, that's their decision, and that's where they have to, I would say go where the money is, just because that's what I was taught as a kid.
Yeah.
You want to make the most money you possibly can.
I agree with you, but to a certain degree, you have to think about what they're going to do after the NBA career. Most people want to become entrepreneurs. Like, if you take a look at Kobe, LeBron, they have progressed and branched out to different organizations, and that's how they're also making money. They're not making money from just the NBA. They're making money from Nike or whatever sponsor they have.
Exactly, because that'll come with time. Like, I'm pretty sure that we all remember back in 2K13 when you would get the shout outs and all that on Twitter, and then how it'll be 15 games into your rookie season. That's when we all got and I know this was hard for me, when you got basically you want to go Nike or Jordan, and I was like, Jordan, but then I was like, Nike. So I understand where y'all coming from, how they'll get their endorsements over time, and of course that all has to be earned, because you got to think about the people that have these endorsements. Steph Curry's with Under Armour, Kobe's with Nike, LeBron's with Nike. Jordan has his own brand of shoe, which he does deserve, being the best player, to ever pick up a basketball. But, you still have to think these things come with time. Obviously, only if they're NBA ready.
Yeah, but that's just with the great most known, best NBA players. That's not going to happen for every single, junior college bound NBA bound player coming out of college, from a sophomore or junior year. Come 10, 15 years, he's not going to be, not saying he doesn't have a chance to be a well-known athlete in the NBA, but that's not guaranteed for every single, NBA bound sophomore college basketball player.
Yeah.
Another point you need to consider when we were talking about the one and dones, like the Kyries, like the other one and dones, Jahlil Okafor, players like that. You also need to realize that the greatest players, some of the greatest players of all time, at least stayed. Like Michael Jordan stayed 3 years, Larry Bird and Magic stayed 4, Kareem stayed 4, Charles Barkley stayed 4. Like we need to consider this. Like obviously those players are the greatest players, some of the greatest players ever played. They didn't need to be one and done. They could have been. They had the ability to be one and done and go to the NBA, but they valued the college experience, whether it came to sports and education. They valued it more back then. So I think that the focus, as we've gotten to the modern era, has really shifted from viewing college as an opportunity to be educated and to be prepared for the future. Now it's just viewed as just the step you need to take before you get to the professional.
All right, well, that brings me up to my next topic. What does it take to have an NBA championship-ready team? Obviously, this has switched, from going to the Wilt era to the Showtime era, the Jordan era. Now we're in what I would basically call the LeBron era, and obviously what it takes to have a championship-ready team may have, decreased it a bit, because when we go, like, let's say, back to the Showtime era, they had Magic, Worthy, Kareem, my boy Kurt Rambis, they had these players, but now you see where you have your championship teams, like, let's bring it up now since they're on the win streak, Golden State. These are guys that can just flat out shoot the f***ing ball. And you really just have to think about what does it take to have an NBA championship ready team, because obviously, just with the one and dones, experience is something that the NBA lacks. As where it came back in the Showtime era, these guys, had experience, because I'm pretty sure that as soon as the Showtime Lakers got a rookie, that rookie was ready. Just because he was with Magic, with Kareem. And then you can say, with the Warriors, or even back when LeBron was with the Heat, that as soon as they got a rookie, they were ready. But were they really ready? Or was it just because that team already had so much chemistry, and that team already had just people who could shoot and could space the floor? Because I'm pretty sure if you play with LeBron James, everybody knows, you have a good chance of winning the championship. What do you guys think?
I think not just to have a championship team, to have a successful winning team, you need chemistry on the floor. It's not always just one player making baskets. It's not just always two players. It's the whole team. Having the whole team do their job on the court is going to make a winning, successful, even a championship-bound team. As you take a look for when LeBron went to the Heat, he wasn't just known as just LeBron and the Heat. It was known as the trio, the Chris Bosh, the Dwayne Wade, and the LeBron. It takes a team chemistry to make a successful winning team, in my opinion.
I think when it comes to what makes a winning team, it takes three things. It's going to take health, it's going to take chemistry, as Marcel said, it's also going to take really good coaching. When I look at the Golden State Warriors, a team that the build-up reminds me of, maybe not as the same shooting ability, obviously I haven't seen a team that can shoot like this, but a team that brings to mind the same kind of makeup and mold is the 85-86 Detroit Pistons. They had a dominant. Isaiah Thomas was the point guard, just like Stephen Curry is the leader of that team. Isaiah Thomas was the star of the Pistons. But they had shooters, but everyone on the floor was a threat offensively. Like even Bill Laimbeer, their 7-foot center, could step out and shoot a three. But also they all were committed and had a plan on defense, and they were a very rough defensive team. And I wouldn't consider Golden State as rough, but they are very in sync when it comes to playing defense. And also they had one of the best coaches ever. So there's a lot of factors that come into it, but also, coaching, we mentioned chemistry, and also health. Obviously, the reason Golden State won last year, they were the healthiest team in the league. That's undeniable. Like, they didn't have a major injury to any of their players. The most significant injury is to Harrison Barnes, but they did a really good job. I mean, they've got depth, too. Obviously, Iguodala coming with that being able to put in minutes. So it's having, I guess you could add that to the list. You need depth as well, as you saw, again, as we saw with San Antonio the year before this one.
It's really funny that you mentioned coaching, because that is, and honestly, a point that a lot of people overlook in the NBA now is coaching. David Blatt, I feel last year did an amazing job with the Cavs, because you can say, oh, he had Kyrie to work with, he had Kevin Love to work with, he had LeBron to work with, but you just had to think about it. Sure, he had all of those people, and those are big names, but you have to also consider exactly what did he do after, the playoffs. Because in the first round, Kevin Love went down, out for the playoffs. Then once he reached the finals, Kyrie went down, out for the playoffs. And you still had David Blatt lead the Cavs, as far as he could lead them. And of course you could say LeBron was a big part. I'm not denouncing the King by any means. He had an amazing finals. I'm one of those people who thought he should have won. But it's just that, coaching plays such a big part. That's why whenever Friday or Wednesday rolls around and that's when the NBA will throw something on ESPN, I always try to find a thing for the Spurs. Because the Spurs are the most fundamental team that we have in the NBA right now. And I just feel like they're always going to have a 60-win season just because Greg Popovich knows how to play.
Going along with that point, yes, David Blatt did do an amazing job, and LeBron's a great player. People overlook, if coaches are given great players, everyone assumes they're automatically going to do well. That's not the case. I mean, we all consider Phil Jackson one of the greatest coaches, and he had Michael, Scottie, Kobe, Shaq. Managing egos, especially how he was able to manage Kobe and Shaq, it's a skill that you definitely need to have, especially with these great coaches and having these great players. Because if you take away the chemistry, that's a huge part, and they're not going to be an effective team as they would be if they were with the good chemistry.
Another topic that we all feel is wrong with the NBA today are free throws. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, free throws win games. There have been numerous games this season where a free throw or two could have won the game. And that's why, I'm pretty sure to all the young players out there who are eventually going to see this video or watch any of my future videos, just practice makes perfect. Anything you want is within reach. Just practice at it. I mean, because we all in this trio right now play sports. I play baseball, these two play track. Just practice. I mean, that's why whenever you hear your coach, do this. It's not, it might be to bust your ass just a little bit, but busting your ass just for 3 seconds can get you so far. I mean, we're so far to having our own personal dreams being made a success. So it's just, when we see free throws now, and the only team you can really point to where they're consistently knocking down their free throws are unfortunately Golden State and the Spurs. Just because Golden State's full of shooters, obviously. But the Spurs are so fundamental that I'm pretty sure that they'll take at least about 30 minutes of practice.
Now, to elaborate more on the free throw side of what you're saying, free throws do make games. They do. If it comes down to 1 or 2 points, it's up to the free throws to win or lose the game. Now, as being just a person who just watches the NBA a lot, and it comes down to the wire to 1 or 2 points, you foul the center, knowing he's probably not the best person who can shoot free throws. Now that's just going by coaching and everything. That's just common sense. You foul the person who's statistically the worst free throw shooter. But thinking it from a college level, not just typically free throw shooting, but just like centers in general. Most colleges, going over the NCAA eligibility and everything, college coaches want athletes who are just huge stud, and just a giant down in the middle of the court and everything. And they really overcome and overlook the actual educational side and just look at them for their skills and everything. And I'm not saying centers in the NBA went through this and everything, but just thinking of it in the educational reason and everything. Centers, they're just known for just being some giant in the college perspective of it. College coaches, I feel like they will just go over and just pick, someone from, down in the local high school. He's just some giant. He wants him to be on his team, so the coach will go after him. Make sure he's just slim, cutting the NCAA eligibility and everything. Just to have him on our team and everything.
Now, a point we have to bring up is that, we always bag on Shaq because, just to show you where free throws have gone for big men, we used to bag on Shaq and he shot 52% from the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
We consider that bad, but if you consider that by today's NBA standards, that's an above average center shooting free throws. Like, if you look at the great centers that played in the NBA, we got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, Karl Malone. These guys hovered around 70-80% from the free throw line. They obviously knew where their points were coming from, and Karl and Kareem are 1 and 2 scoring all time. You'd think that centers would look at these players as their idols and be able to try to mimic them, and it just seems that free throw shooting has been more overlooked as the years have gone on, and I honestly don't know why. I don't know.
Just because, but getting on to the next point, that kind of brings us to the final point that I have here, and that's player comparison. Nowadays, we have players, obviously, that want to be like LeBron, that want to be like Steph, that want to, get rebounds like Blake. We got people like this, but when these superstars were growing up, they had, only fundamentals to look at. Obviously, Steph Curry's dad played in the NBA, Dale Curry, who was a phenomenal shooter. LeBron only had to look up to Michael. And, Blake Griffin, I'm pretty sure looked up to people like Kareem and Karl Malone and stuff like that. But when we only compare people now, we don't say, oh, Blake Griffin is definitely like Karl Malone. Blake Griffin is like, Kareem. We don't compare these type of players to their own position anymore because we immediately go for the greatest. The best example I have right now is that a couple days ago, First Take did a skit about, is Steph Curry on the level of Michael Jordan? Steph Curry's not a shooting. Steph Curry has to facilitate the offense, so you could say, is Steph Curry like Allen Iverson? But you can't say is Steph Curry like Michael, because the only person that I've ever seen come this close to Michael, and you guys can disagree, but the only person I've ever seen come this as close as we can ever fathom of Michael Jordan is Kobe Bryant. That's the guy that mimics him the best. Every shot is like, oh shit, I just saw Michael do that. And when we compare LeBron, it's just LeBron's a hybrid. And it's just, if I've compared anybody to LeBron, I've compared LeBron to Dominique, but he can shoot. Or he's like the young Grant Hill back when he was with the Pistons. Like that. Those are comparisons that you just need to put people within their own category, not just immediately go for Michael.
Now, another thing you have to keep in mind, I'm glad no one does the blasphemous thing and try to compare big men now to big men then, because big men now are so much weaker and so much less skilled than big men back then, that would be just a terrible statement to make. But going back to that point, the reason people blindly go after comparing people to Michael is because Michael is the gold standard. Michael, everyone, the common agreement is Michael's the greatest player to ever play. So, when we see players do great things, we want to compare them to what we know is the greatest. You know what I'm saying? So, when we see Curry hitting threes or Curry scoring, we want to look at the greatest scorer of all time. When we see people playing defense, we want to look at, Michael is just the gold standard, so that's why people automatically jump to compare people to him. Right or not, that's just the reason.
Alright guys, that was the first video. Just expect more. This will be part of a side skit where I sit down with these two guys and we'll talk about sports. Leave a comment in the description below about anything you would like to see. Topics, anything. It can be music, it can be NFL, it can be girls. We don't care. Just throw us your top.
I'm a virgin.
He too light skinned to be a virgin. And just throw us your topics down in the description below. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, you know, all that bullshit. But anyway, don't forget to follow my boy Marcel. And remember, his YouTube channel is in the description below. So make sure to follow him, leave like, subscribes, everything. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back later.
Full disclosure.